What's up, guys? If you're watching this, you're going, wait a second. It's Thom Abraham and Mick Gillispie. Yeah, this is part of the original Bama Tailgate Show. Hold on, I got good thing we're recording, but we're not on the radio yet. May have to get a drink out here. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you guys is that if you didn't know it already, we're pre-recording for the Saturday show that plays across the state of Alabama. So I post these segments so that you guys can kind of get a sneak peek of what's going on. But we record the show Friday night from 5 to 7, either from the floor Bama, if the team's on the road, or from Innisfree or other places in Tuscaloosa when Alabama's at home. And Tom's been a great guest to us on our affiliate up in North Alabama, one of the biggest markets now in the entire world, which is crazy to say, right? Huntsville, Madison, and then, the whole North Alabama area, but 97.7 ESPN the Zone. So, and Tom, you live up there. Before I really get the show started, I mean, it's just crazy how big the market's gotten.
Yeah, it is. It's the biggest city in Alabama now. I mean, people always think Alabama, I think Birmingham, but actually Huntsville is larger than Birmingham with over 200,000 people. Now, the Birmingham metro is bigger because of Hoover. I mean, Hoover's 90 some odd thousand people. Hoover's almost half the size of Birmingham now. Huntsville has Madison to the west and then Athens, Decatur, and those areas too. But so it is certainly a big market, but and it's great. It's a great melting pot area because of the Arsenal, the Redstone Arsenal, all the engineers. We have people from everywhere. And if it's not Alabama that we're talking about, or Auburn or Tennessee, then it's the Big Ten. We seem to have a lot of people from Michigan and Ohio that live in the North Alabama area that came down for engineering purposes. And so we get a lot of Big Ten talk as well.
Awesome. Well, check out Tom's show if you're in that neck of the woods or also on the app. But he does the Thom Abraham show every day, too, which is great. And he's been dominating the North. He's been the king of the North in the state of Alabama for a long time. So, but not too long, Tom. We're not that old. We just been in the game for a little bit.
18, 19 years. It would be 19 years in March for me on in Huntsville, even though my show originated out of Nashville for a while. It was syndicated into Montgomery and Huntsville and coming out of Nashville. I was in whatever market Paul Feinbaum wasn't in with my radio group at the time. They would put my show on opposite Paul. So I was the guy that, the sacrificial lamb, I guess, to go up against Paul. Although we did pretty good.
Yeah, I always liked it.
We beat him in Huntsville, on a regular basis. So we did pretty good. And now we're on the same station. Paul follows me on my station in Huntsville now.
Well, there you go. Finally, the two of you finally got together and teamed up in North Alabama.
There you go.
All right, guys, we're going to start the radio broadcast too. But I just wanted to tell you that and give you a little bit of extra for hanging out with us. Like and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and thank you for being here. But when you hear the music, that's where we're getting started on the original Bama Football Tailgate Show. I guess I do have to do this though, Tom, before I. That was like a false start there because I got to pull up my my reads before we get going. And now I got them pulled up. So here we go. Welcome back to the original Bama Football Tailgate Show. And as we broadcast every road game from the floor of Bama on the coast of the beautiful state of Alabama and really in Florida as well, the Perdido Key. He's Thom Abraham up in North Alabama. I'm Mick Gillispie. And before you guys do anything else, please like and subscribe. Be part of our channel wherever you might be listening or watching from. I know a lot of you guys are listening throughout the state, but we're also on YouTube on Bama Tailgate. We got a lot to talk about. This segment brought to you by visitsevierville.com. It is a great time of year to go visit the Smokies. And I tell you guys that every year, and a lot of you do that because I hear from you, but fall is a great time to visit the Smoky Mountains. You've got just awesome places to check out. There's 4 different self-guided fall tours that guide you through the back roads and highlight all the historical points of interest and beautiful fall views. You can find maps and videos and all the stuff you need at visitsevierville.com/fall. Well, Tom, we are in a different place this week than we were a week ago with this Alabama football team. everything that you could possibly think of in the game against Ole Miss. We're a little worried at the beginning, a little sloppy, and then they kicked ass in the second half, a 24-10 win. They sent Lane Kiffin in a tailspin. We'll find out how big that tailspin is. But what a great day for Alabama. Now they've got to build on that against Mississippi State.
They do have to build on it, and also they have to make sure that they're not peeking ahead to that trip to College Station coming up next week. And not that you ever want to overlook anybody in the SEC, but Alabama's been dominant against Mississippi State for so many years, and now this is the next step in a maturation of this team. Nick Saban will have to teach them to guard against getting overconfident because of what they did defensively, especially. It was the first time in, I think, 39 games or so under Lane Kiffin that the Ole Miss Rebels were held under 20 points in a game. It was a smothering defensive display. And again, it's a survive and advance type of year for Alabama right now. I mean, it's 1992 all over again, right? It feels like Gene Stallings' team, just keep winning football games. They won't be able to deny you if you keep winning football games, but a lot of work to be done, especially, Mick, there's a unique scenario going on right now in as much as that there is no SEC teams between Georgia at number 1 and Alabama at number 11 or 12, depending on the poll you're looking at. So there are no real opportunities for them to beat somebody ahead of them.
Right.
And with the Big Ten teams that are in there and the Pac-12 teams that are in there, they'll start playing each other and maybe knocking each other off a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see how Alabama creeps up, and then how, if they continue to win, how the playoff committee will view this Alabama team. I think if you're an Alabama fan, though, you're pulling for Texas to continue to win and not stub their toe, because you want that to look like, yeah, that was a loss, but that's a loss against the top 3 or top 2 type of football team. And if you told me right now that you wanted to say that Texas was the number 1 team in America, I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't fight with that either.
Yeah, no, I would take it. And we can unpack some of that stuff, too. First, against Texas, Alabama had a tough time getting the plays out to the defense. Guys standing around, looking, wondering what's going on. T-Rob, as Lane Kiffin so skillfully pointed out going into last week's game, Tavarius Robinson now is the guy on the sideline calling the plays from Kevin Steele, as Nick Saban also clarified for us. But that communication process, along with maybe the best secondary that Alabama's had, and that is high praise right now for these guys. Malachi Moore, who's been great at star, have built this defense that when they get pressure on the quarterback becomes really tough. But one guy they're not going to have is Deontay Lawson. How does that hurt this Alabama team, missing one of their star linebackers?
As good as Lawson has been, did it feel like a big drop-off? I mean,
no.
It wasn't a big drop-off. I mean, his backup came in and played very well in the game. I think that the defense as a whole continues to work better and better. The back end is looking really good, but the back end always looks better when there's pressure up front, and they're starting to get more and more pressure. Now, go against a veteran quarterback again tonight, and so they're going to have to continue to kind of get that kind of pressure to help the back end of that defense. But I think defensively they're fine. The only question is going to be, will they continue to figure out a way to score, in the 20s or in the high 20s, or is there going to be an explosion at some particular point in time where it's going to look the way a lot of people thought it would look?
Yeah, great question. But you're right. Jaheed Campbell came in. He played well. Trez Marshall wanted this experience in Georgia. He wasn't going to get it. Now he's getting it at Alabama. And it just feels like it's a great opportunity to learn without one of your better playmakers out there on defense, but you got 2 other guys that are ready to step up. And depth has always been something that Nick Saban has relied on. Let's switch over to the offensive side of the ball. He's Thom Abraham, 97.7 ESPN the Zone in Huntsville, North Alabama, and the host of the Thom Abraham Show on our show here each and every week as we talk Bama football. Is Seth McLaughlin ever going to snap the ball cleanly for an entire game? I mean, what is going on with this guy?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, it is getting kind of scary because, and especially, I'll just go through the mechanics of it. When they high snapped on the goal line on first and goal, first of all, you're never going to see that again. I think Nick Saban was as plain and as clear. I had Mike Rodak from Bama 24/7 Sports on the day after he asked Nick Saban that question about whether he regretted being in a shotgun on first and goal from the 1. And Saban, said, I agree with you. I don't understand why we would be in shotgun. Now, I don't understand why Saban wouldn't be telling Tommy Rees at that time go Elephant, put the heavy set in, let's go and push that ball in the end zone. On the other hand, why should Nick Saban have to tell Tommy Rees to go Elephant and use your 230-pound quarterback and shove that ball into the end zone at that point? I think Saban was as surprised as anybody else. But having said that, when you're on the 1-yard line and you're looking to get that leverage, everything on the 1-yard line is all about leverage. Get down low man wins on a goal line, going to get that explosion off the ball. At that point in time, it kind of changes the angle of the center's back. It changes the way, he's going to fire out. And so you're more susceptible to snap the ball high there. It's just the way it is. It's one of the problems with the shotgun in that scenario. But for the most part, you have to really like the way the offensive line played. They're coming along. They were able to run the ball some again. And, I think the pass pro was good. I think part of that was the fact that they called some running plays, for Jalen Milroe. We saw him on a quarterback sweep a couple of times and on a draw and things like that, which I think takes some of the starch out of the defense. So, again, it's all complementary. It's all works together. And I think that's what was important on Saturday.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I do a podcast, a shout out to Roll Tide Pods, Disrupt the Media, Elephant in the Room. And it's this room. And the elephant is actually Jake Coker. And he's like, hey, I don't know how you can quarterback with your head down. And that was something that Jimbo Fisher told him. You can't drive with your head down. You can't quarterback with your head down. The snaps have got to improve for whatever reason. Yeah. They're not getting there. Or I feel like Nick Saban is going to have to make a change, and maybe it's Brockermeyer that gets a chance, because you might lose in some other areas, but you lose every time the snap's bad, and for Jalen Milroe, who's trying to command this offense, who has this ability to run the football and throw the football, the mid-level game is something he's got to improve on. And then the other thing is with this team and this defense, Tom, he doesn't have to be a superstar. He's got to be kind of a explosive game manager, if that makes sense.
Well, they got to not turn the ball over. And if you're turning it over, that, when they airmail a snap over the quarterback, that might as well be a turnover. I mean, that drive was a minus 22-yard drive. When you take over at the 1-yard line, you're kicking a 40-yard field goal. Are you kidding me? So, so that type of stuff has to end. But from Milroe's standpoint as well, I mean, he threw a horrific interception in the end zone. He had a guy wide open standing at the 4-yard line that could have backpedaled into the end zone if he'd have chucked it down to that guy. Instead, he threw to a guy that was double covered and it was intercepted. So he's got to clean that up. But when he did throw, for the most part, what was he, 17 of 21, 81%, something like that. Yeah. He was highly efficient when he did throw. Still sometimes hangs on to the ball too long. But again, we got to remember, this is what, his fifth now start, something like that, fifth or sixth start. You just got to continue to get better and better. And if that happens, they're going to be all right.
Yeah, and that's how I feel too. It really looked like the second half of the football game against Ole Miss, we started to see what this team's identity is going to be. Run the football, throw deep, and be smart, play great defense, force turnovers, all the things that built Alabama and Nick Saban's dynasty. And, you hope that it continues. But this team also, Tom, has since really 2020, and it seemed like it was after that year that they weren't so dominant on the road anymore. And then last year they played 5 road games. All of them were tough. Like I said, it was college version of an NFL schedule. But they didn't. The only game that they won comfortably, they didn't win comfortably against Arkansas. And that was the game that Milroe started because he kept turning the football over with a big lead. Right. He at least has that experience to rely on when Alabama takes on Mississippi State late tonight. Right. But other than that, all these games are tight, and they want to get back to their being able to go on the road and send everyone home early identity. And I feel like today's game against Mississippi State is the perfect environment to get there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you look at the one true road game, which was at South Florida, and they kind of stumbled and sleptwalked through that game. Can't have that kind of an effort against an SEC team, even if it's Mississippi State, which isn't at the top of the league. They're going to have to be better than they were there. But I think that experience at South Florida maybe got their attention. So we'll see how they go here. Again, the next one, which is on the road at Texas A&M, they can't be peeking ahead to that. I peeked ahead to it twice, but I'm not playing in the game. They can't be peeking ahead to that. They have got to keep it the focus, the process, the one play at a time, win each play. All those things that Saban talks about is what they're going to need to do. But don't get crazy if it's a 10-point win. I mean, I know it's a 14.5-point line,
Right.
but, if they go in there and they win 24-14, survive in advance. That's the way. I just don't think we're going to see a lot of joyless murder ball out of this crew. I don't see that happening.
No, maybe never again, right? Thom, tell everyone how they can find you.
Find me at 97.7 ESPN the Zone in North Alabama, our app as well. Get that, download that app to your phone. You can listen to the show every day, noon to 2. On the X at Thom Abraham Show, Facebook at Thom Abraham Show. Basically, you can find it in all those places.
Tailgate Show is brought to you by Visit Sevierville.
See yourself in Sevierville, Tennessee. Your Smokies start here.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to Andrew Bone from Bama Online and the On3 Sports Network. And I want to tell you, too, that this show is proudly run when we're in the car, driven by Tuscaloosa Hyundai, the Elantra, the Sinatra, or an SUV like the Tucson. Tailgating doesn't get any better. We'll talk to Andrew Bone more as we preview Alabama and Mississippi State coming up.